Well, it's now time to bring you the first interview segment for the show, bringing in focus the role of the mines and steel sector, its contribution to the nation's GDP over the past few years and necessary infrastructure, as well as stimulants to fuel the sector. We had an exclusive interview with the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Olalekan Adegbite, and we started off the conversation assessing the present state of Nigeria's mining industry and the effect of the COVID-19 on the revenue base of the sector.
As expected, the sector is of course also affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. This has affected everybody all over the world. And the response from the government is good. The government came up with this ESP, Economic Sustainability Plan. And in that plan, a sum of 6 billion naira was allotted to the sector to cushion the effects of the pandemic. And of course, we're already working on that. Part of the money has been released to us, and we're working on that now to create effects such that it will cushion the affectations of the pandemic itself. We're doing it regionally. In Oyo State, we are doing a gemstone market there. I'm sure there's some things in the press recently. We have been working on that, and we are arresting that. Ibadan, there's an international gemstone market, which of course is informal. We intend to formalize it so that everybody can benefit. The government will get its revenue, our people will get their due instead of being cheated. We're doing something on barite in the south-south. That will be based in Cross River State, and they have plenty of barite. We are working on lead zinc in Ebonyi. Beneficiation in Ebonyi. While we're doing a gold souk in Kano, that will be for the northwest. In the north central, we are looking at putting a gold processing, smelter in Kogi. That will serve the north central. And the northeast is, we're about to decide that we are looking at somewhere in Bauchi to do something. All this is targeted at artisanal miners to cushion the effect of the pandemic. So, in short, our government has responded very well, and of course, with this, it will stimulate activity within that rank. For our industrialization to even start at all, we need to do this, and that's why I said the sector can help. Besides that, we also have we also have a lot of minerals that can be fed directly into the industry. Right now, what has been happening in Nigeria is that all our mineral exploitation is exported in the raw form. So we have what we call a downstream policy sector, which we've just developed. Is about going to the council for approval. This, of course, will lead to a situation where you cannot export raw ore from Nigeria anymore. You have to do some beneficiation. And when we do this beneficiation, it also benefits industry. There's no point you export raw ore and then the industries in Nigeria will now import those things in a semi-processed form for their material input into what they're manufacturing in Nigeria. Kaolin is one example, which is used in the paint industry, which is, of course, used in the pharmaceuticals. We have kaolin in Nigeria. We can process so that it can go straight in the industry. These are the kind of things we're looking at when we say, yes, it can be the bedrock of industrialization in Nigeria. At that point, one must give kudos to President Muhammadu Buhari. I've said it severally. It's becoming like, I repeat it all the time, but it's quite impressive what he did in 2017, giving some extra budgetary allocation to the ministry, to the sector, and at that time. Because you cannot attract investors into the sector, serious players, without data. Nobody's coming to gamble their money in your country. You can't just tell me with the word of mouth that, oh, you have gold in Elisha, we have silver in Zamfara, or all that. You see, that's just talk. You have to back it with data, authenticated by what we call the competent persons. And this is exactly what we're doing with what we call the NIMEP. NIMEP is the National Integrated Mineral Exploration Projects, which is funded from that intervention fund the president gave. Without that fund, we would be non-starter. And that sum of money dedicated to NIMEP has been able to take about 4 minerals, exploration for that, for 4 minerals. And the data we're getting from those on those 4 minerals is what we take on our roadshow. Since I came into office, been on this roadshow, and we're beginning to get the right kind of attraction. You know, people are already coming to Nigerian desk, making inquiries and all that, and they wanted to come to Nigeria. The pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, of course, has slowed things down. We expect this interest to resume as soon as things get better generally around the world, because if we want to come to Nigeria, what we've done it to international standard. The competent persons are embedded in this project. So when you're exploring for gold, there's a competent person that's with them. He's not reporting to him. He's seen as everything is being done every step of the way, and he endorses it. These are people who are recognized internationally. When they call them competent persons, their words are believed in the sector, in the industry, all over the world. So these are people who have embedded, and of course, we are getting the right results. From even just the interim report we're getting from NIME, we're getting the right kind of attention from investors all over the world. So we want to deepen that. Nigeria has about 44 million identified so far. The funds we have can only do 4. You can still have a long way to go. So the more funds we have, the more exploration we can do, and the more reliable data we can acquire, which of course will market and we can get serious players.
The minister also spoke on just how the mining sector can also spur the industrialization process of the Nigerian economy, adding that this can also help the country's quest for improved revenue generation.
Government is giving them a lot of incentives. There's a department in the ministry, a whole department, it's called ASM, that's Artisanal and Small Scale Mining Department. Essentially what they do is they go out there, they seek out where the people are operating. We have a remote sensing unit here in the ministry which is supported by the World Bank. These, of course, through satellites, identify wherever the people are. And, of course, we now send out foot soldiers. These foot soldiers go out there and get their biometrics, get them registered, and, of course, we try and group them into cooperatives to formalize them. When we do that, of course, we do have incentives for them. Once they agree to come together and we have all their records, you know, we identify who they are, then we extend training to them. Training is free. Safer mining methods, safer processing methods. We, of course, will now introduce them to, well, it's not free fund, but it is an inexpensive fund. We have a fund that's available to them from as low as 2 million naira to 100 million naira loan at 5% interest rate. This money is domiciled with the Bank of Industry. Of course, they do that. We also do equipment leasing. You know, we avail that to them. We introduce them to the buying center system. Right now, a lot of them sell their winnings to rogue buyers, let's just call them that. Whoever comes around, and often because they are subsistent in nature, they sell because they need the next, their next meal depends on what they sell. So they sell like that. But what government is doing to help them is by creating buying centers. The buying centers are licensed and they will only buy properly without cheating the people. They know the rate to buy and the rate to sell. So these are some of the incentives we are giving to those people. But then we need them to come together, you know, and they formalize. We recognize them. And of course, I must say it becomes a win-win because when we do that, whatever they realize, government can get its due from them in terms of royalty. Save for this, the pandemic has slowed down this year. We were very bullish on Ajaokuta that we'll have achieved some progress, and by now we should be talking about, oh, the project started and they're going to complete, this is the date for going to commission and all that. And I think we can still get back on track as soon as the world start getting over this COVID pandemic. Also, in the mining sector itself, like I said, we are getting a lot of traction with the data we have and all the roadshow we had. But most of the other mining calendar, all the activities on the mining calendar for the rest of the year were cancelled, or they were held virtually. Even our own Nigerian Mining Week, we have it in October every year, and we were planning to have something more grandiose this year. We were moving from the NAF Center in Kado to the International Conference Center here. That was the plan. We paid for the venue, and we're going to have something bigger, have more investors coming, because we are becoming more interested in Nigeria. But, you know, man proposes and God disposes. We'll still hope that we'll get back on track and, of course, we're able to achieve some of these lofty goals and dreams in the coming years. But ultimately, our aim and our prayer is that before President Muhammadu Buhari leaves office, we'll put this sector on the pedestal of growth that will be irreversible. The major challenge for the sector is funding, actually. The kind of funding required for this sector is not something you get from the budgetary allocation. Like I said, I must also thank the President once again for coming to bail us out in 2017. We'll be going back to him very soon to do the same, because that money I was given in 2017 has been used judiciously, and the results are there. We're going to present that to him, and of course ask him, like Oliver Twist, we need more money, intervention money, so we can take the sector further and deepen even some of the data that we have, get them to bankable level. So funding.
And wrapping up the conversation, the minister also believes that better funding can also help boost local production, as Nigeria spends no less than 3.3 billion naira annually importing metals.
We're definitely doing better in terms of naira and kobo. But you see, we cannot be satisfied with that. What we have, these are incremental growth. You will say, okay, in 2018 we made maybe 3.8 billion. Then when it got to 2019, it became 5 billion. And then our projection for 2020 is that, okay, we'll probably go to 8 or 10 billion. This is child's play. But it necessarily so, because all the revenue we are talking about now comes from artisanal mining and small-scale mining, which is what is predominant in Nigeria. This is what dominates the sector right now in Nigeria. We don't have serious players in Nigeria yet. About 85–90% of the sector is artisanal miners, with a few small-scale miners here and there. And this kind of revenue we're getting from them is trickle, and that's all we can get. You need serious players who are formalized, who can pay, 10 billion naira to government as revenue in a year. It's just one company can pay 5 billion in terms of whatever they've got out. We need to get those serious players in. But in terms of effort and result, we're getting trickles. Like I said, it's incremental growth. When you move from 3.8 to 5 billion, you are moving from 5 billion to 8 billion. But we could also have exponential growth if you have the right people in this playing in the sector. Okay, it comes back to Ajaokuta and all that, because that's our flagship steel production project, which upon assumption of office, we'll be making efforts to resuscitate. We've tried other things in the past, and we're trying to do things differently now to make sure that we bring Ajaokuta to production. And God willing, before the end of the tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari in 2023, we hope that Ajaokuta will be in production. If we do that, we have the capacity to satisfy local demand and also to export to our neighbors. Most of the steel that come into Africa now comes from the Chinese or the Russians. So if you look at that distance, freight and all that, I think we can compete favorably if we produce steel in Ajaokuta. So at least we have the Nigerian market, and then of course we have the West African sub-region market. So it's a good thing if and when we are able to start production at Ajaokuta. It's what we're pursuing currently.
Well, that was the Minister of Mines and Steel Development speaking.